Hello. Yes, I have started recording this meeting. You can refer this later on. So we were talking about the real-time calls. So whenever we are working on real-time calls, we have to take care of three things over here. What are that? One is endpoint URL, and the second one is request and the response. So if you have a get call, and if you have a post call, and if you have a put call, and delete and all will is quite similar to get or post, will consider delete and delete and put. All these are similar to the post call. It is having the same pattern. So whenever you are working on get call, you will be having endpoint URL and you will be having a response. So whenever you are working on post one, then you will be having an endpoint URL, you will have request and you will have response here. So post is having three things, get is having two things. So we have to know what is get and what is post. This we have learned earlier. So let's put some words on this one. So get is nothing but a URL based. Okay. What do you mean by URL based? It means that the data will be displayed on URL. And post is nothing but body based. What do you mean by this? Data will be sended with body info. Body pattern also. Okay, I agree with your answer. With body pattern. So another point which we have to remember here is get is used for accessing data. Post is used for submitting data. Okay, so if you want to access employee details, then you have to go for get. If you want to get employee details based on ID or something, then you have to go for post. One quick example I will take so that it will be more clear to you. So get is limited, that is max up to 1 GB, and post is unlimited. Okay, these are the few differences. Many more differences you can find on Google. You can Google it, you can learn more about that. So these three are the basic one which you have to remember. So I'm just closing this all and coming back to the Ajax point. So when we are working on get call, we have to take care of two things here. One is endpoint URL and another one is response. So what is this endpoint URL? Endpoint URL is nothing but server URL. Server URL means the point with whom you are going to communicate. Okay, we will see that. Response is nothing but the data. Either it is a request or it is a response. It is nothing but data. Request means requesting some data. Response means getting some data on a request. Okay, so client will request and server will response. So we are working on the client technology, so called UI development. So your jQuery or Angular or Node, whatever it might be. So we request for something and server will listen our request and respond on that. So these points you have to be very clear. So I believe up to here we are good in shape. So let me take one URL here. We don't have as if now the backend server or something. But thanks to Google, thanks to people who have developed the fake APIs, that is for the practice purpose. Okay, where they will be listening our request and responding to our request. So like that, there is one which is called as request response .in. Okay, so here you will be having some fake data. It doesn't matter data is fake or real, it is just for the practice purpose. So here you can see that you have multiple calls: get, post, put, patch, delete, all these things we have. You can see, right? Another point. So when let's take get at the initial stage. So what you have here, this is nothing but URL. Okay, this URL is having its own data, that is nothing but page equals to 2. So let me take one call on this one. So I'm going back to notepad++ and index.html we have, so I'm just going to modify that with HTML and close of HTML, head, close of head, body, and then close of body. Yeah, here we need what? We need to include the script type equal to what I have to write, text by JavaScript src equals to. So where is our plugin here? This is what our plugin, right? Copy this, get back over here and paste it over here, then close off script. And another point is script code. So jQuery is having its own main method, what we call it, document.ready of function. So this we have seen in Friday's class. Saturday I didn't take any class, so Sunday also no class. We had a class only on Friday. So here this is what document.ready is for calling the jQuery function. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get some data here, button, or else let me make it simple. A href equals to, what is that endpoint? So this is an endpoint which you have to paste with this URL. This URL with this endpoint. Copy this. Okay. So here what I'm doing is I'm just calling get details. No more jQuery calls, no more script. It's pretty simple in the initial stage. So let me go to the new tab and open my file index.html. So I'm just clicking over here. On the click of that, I'm getting some data. So this is nothing but a data which is in response. So data, this is what request you have, and you got something so-called response here. Okay. So on clicking of that one, what is happening is you are losing your control here. You are moving your control from your own web page, that is nothing but index.html, to some other server URL, that is request response.in. Correct? So once you lose your control from your web, then there is nothing in your hand. Everything you have given or surrendered to another domain. So why do we need Ajax? To stay on the same page, to use their data and access and do manipulation whatever we want. So first of all, what is happening here? You are losing your control. Losing control is clear. How you are losing your control? Simply calling the another website. What is the name of that website? Request response, and this is the data we are giving and you are getting the output. But there is no control here. If you want to format this JSON, you can't do, because it is not your HTML file to do. It is something different. It is a backend API. To remain on the same page, what we have is we have something so called Ajax. So let's do the same thing using Ajax now. So when you are working on Ajax, so you will be getting all these things in this way. You have URL here, you have function here, and you have response here, and console.log of response. This is a syntax for the get call. Okay, so I will be saving all these examples in one file, Another point is you are having this meeting URL as well, which can help you later on. So this is a syntax. So URL is nothing but your endpoint. What is your endpoint here? This is your endpoint here. Okay, and that's it. So let me save this and let me run this. Console we have given, so everything will be on the console here. So it's in the form of object. You can see we're getting the output here. So console will not work. Let's make it something dynamic by giving div.html of response. So you're getting response here. What is response? This is your response data. Okay, it's nothing but the object. Inside object you have data. So what you have to do is response.data. You have to response. Okay, we lost the control there. So you have data here. So what I'm doing is I will be using dot data, response.data. We'll come to your point. Any point if you are not able to understand, let me know. I will explain you once again. So here is a div on which I'm calling HTML, and I'm giving the AJAX call here, that is get. And let me execute this so that you will come to know what is happening. Let me add some debuggers here. So what is coming in response? If you see here, you're getting some response, and the response is like this. You have to format your response. Hold on guys, hold on. Just give me a minute. In spite of ID, let me take first name and last name. First name. So what I'm doing here, I'll explain everything. So you got a response. You're getting only one here. So what you have to do basically is you have to write a loop and you have to get the entire response. Let me do that and let me explain you after that. And here, first name, last name. So here you can see, if you see the earlier output, you were getting the response which is quite huge. What the response you were getting earlier? This is what the response you were getting earlier. But you lost the control earlier. You have been redirected to requestresponse.com. Now you are in your same HTML file and you are getting the response. So what we did basically here, so this is your web page. This is your browser window. So earlier what was happening is when you are giving a request, you are trying to communicate with front end with back end. So when you are hitting the request here, in the earlier case, so this request is redirecting and displaying response on the another page. This page is nothing but index.html, and this page was request response.in. So earlier when you were hitting a request, you are requesting to the another web and you are getting a response in the another one. But now what we have is you are having a response within the same page. Okay, so let me roll back it and explain you once again here. So this is what your previous example. I just roll back over there. On the click of this, you will losing your control and moving to request response.in. But now by standing on the same page, you are getting the response. So what Ajax will do is it will call the backend API by standing on the same page without reloading your page again. Okay, in this case your page is reloading and redirecting to some other page, but in this case it is standing on the same page and you are getting the response. Fine. Now the question is how to get the entire response. Entire response means I want to display all details whatever is available in this response. If you see here, the response is holding a data. In that data is an array, so you need a for loop here, correct? So let's loop it then. For loop, how do you want me to write a simple for loop? I equals to 0, I less than response dot data dot length, and I plus plus. So here this will be I then, and this will also be I. Okay, so if you want breaks in between, then what you can do is you can simply add something so called break tag here. Does it make sense? So without losing a control on the web page, you are communicating with the backend servers and getting the output. This is what our job. If you go and visit any website here, let me take amazon.in. So what it will be doing is you will be on the HTML page only. This is nothing but your HTML page only. In this HTML page, for example, when you're clicking on any product, on this HTML page, it will request to the backend API and it will get some output as a front end, as a response, and you will be displaying it. So everything whatever we see is all about a flow between the request and response, and that is achieved by using the Ajax. Okay, so when you are trying to communicate with different servers or within the same server, you will be using Ajax. So if you come back over here, you can see ID is there, first name, last name, whatever you want, you can display it in this way. Any questions you have, you can ask me directly. Don't shy, please feel free to ask whatever you have in your mind. So if you want to display the entire data here like ID, first name, last name and all, simply what is needed here, you have to add some responses. How many responses you want, that many you add it over here. So first what you want to, what is there? There is ID, So here this will be ID. Second, what you have here, first name we have, and third last name. After that, what is that, avatar something, right? AVA, avatar. What is that? Syntax problem. Check where is we are missing something here, like closing. Where is that missing code? Click on this line number. It is saying after first name. Okay, let me bring all this to the single line. It is considering as a new line. Still, yeah, here plus is needed, right? Yes, plus is needed here. So view word wrap. This will allow you to copy the code while watching the video if it is in the word wrap. Still there is something missing. Still there is something missing. There is something missing at this point. What is that? Plus in between. Okay, you got it. All the four things here. So in this way, you have to read the response. You have to see the structure of response. Based on that structure only, you have to call it. So what I did, response.data I have written. Why I have written response.data? Because I can see the array here. I want this part to be repeated. So I have written response dot. We can give, no, here you are communicating with this one. So this only you have to give. Okay. If you give something blah blah, like I'm adding something here, you will not get anything as a response there, because you have to know the endpoints of that. Then only you are allowed to access it. So for this, you have the endpoint here. So you are allowed to access this. Make sense? So you have to practice this one. One get I have used, which is for list users. So another get is there, which is for a single user. So for this, the URL is like this. For the first one, the URL was having some extra information. So it is giving all page to related. And if you want to access only one, then this is an endpoint. Okay. Any questions? So this example, what I will do is I will place it over here. So this is what get call example is, that you can access this URL. Anyhow, you have this one I shared with you earlier. I have updated this answer so you can access it later on. So till now, I believe it is clear to you. So this same example you can do in a different style. What I'm doing is now we are on the clean page once again. So what is the request URL you were having there? Copy this URL, and the same example you can do in this way. So if you see here, what this question mark indicates, it indicates a parameter. Okay, the same thing you can access it without using Ajax. So how this will be if you don't use Ajax? So form action, what this action will have? And form. So action is nothing but your endpoint URL. So what I'm doing is, instead of copying the complete one, I am going to copy the partial one, and I'm going to give some text here, placeholder. It's your call. If you want, you can give ID. Please enter ID. And what else? Name equals to. So if you see here, what we have name here, page. And finally you have a button here. So when you are using form, you should make sure you are using submit. So value equals to send. This is not send now, this is going to be the get now. It's your call, any name you can give. I'm going to close this one. Okay, I'm going to give the ID as 2. So what happened? So this is the another way of accessing data. Again, without using jQuery, if you try, then you will be losing the control here. Sorry, without using Ajax. If you try, you will be losing the control here. So the one way of accessing is using href. The second way is like this. So when you are giving 2, you are getting that second data. If you give 3, we'll get the third record. So this again, if you want to make it dynamic, then you have to convert this to the Ajax now. So let's convert that one to the Ajax now. I'm going to remove this form, and I'm going to make this one as a button, and I'm going to give the ID of the button as button. Now what we want is, on the click of button, I want to stay on the same page and access the data. So what I have to write? Dot click function with, and here at the initial stage I'm just going to write the alert. So alert is coming means your button is getting called. Those who are not following, please refer the yesterday's video first, so that it will be helpful for you to understand this, because already we have covered this dot click and all. And this is alert. The next point, yeah, after this alert, what we want is, we want to give the Ajax call. So what is the syntax of that? $get URL and callback function. That is nothing but the function here with response. Form the URL. What is a URL? Let me bring this URL to upstage. In this URL, what is going to be dynamic? This 2 is going to be dynamic. How to make it dynamic? Where that 2 is going to come? Where that 2 is going to come? Text box, right? So how do you access the value of text box? Where is text box here? This is your text box. So let me give the ID as anything. I'm giving as page. And here, how to access the value? Dollar dot dollar of, what is the ID? Page dot val. And here you are going to get the response. Again, I have to sort the response, so I have taken a backup of that, right? Let me choose this one. Complete for you. Or else, this is quite good for me. Now, let me come back and execute this. 2, and you got the response. Did you lose your control from your page? No. You have access to your response, you have access to your data, everything. Does it make sense? Why do we really need AJAX? For staying on the same page and getting the request and response. So if in the same way, if you give 1 here, if there is some data, then definitely you will get it. If you give 4 here, 4th related, this data is not in your control. It's coming from your server. Okay? So if you use .html, then it will be responded in different way. If you use append, or let me try with text also, because we didn't see this example yet. So what I said you, text will be considered it as a plain text. So you can see the break tag is coming. Okay, it will not, and it will return you the last record. In general, when it is break, it should come to the next line, but when it is text, it will not come to the next line. So HTML is there. We try that. Okay, so HTML will return you the last record, and append will keep appending it. So if you see the earlier, this record was coming, text was also displaying the last record, but append, it will append, keep appending this with this with this with this. So these things you can just follow the last class, and you can practice the basics of that. So guys, this is what something which is really need to understand. So here the challenging thing is the response which you get and the endpoint URL which you send. If you see here how we are sending with parameter, and this too is going to be dynamic. How we made it dynamic? By adding, fetching the value from the text field. So final URL will be page equals to 2, page equals to 3, like that. Does it make sense? Does it really help? Shall we proceed to the next level? So if you come back over here, let's go to the next call. Here you have the data in, if you see the endpoint here, so get endpoint you can access directly from the URL also here. Just copy and paste here. You will get the same output here also. Okay? In case of get. So anything which you are trying to test, you just copy and paste it over there, you will get the same. So let me paste it over here, and let's talk about the second type. In the second type get, you don't have any placeholder, that is question mark is not there. Here the style of sending data is quite different. So you have to structure your output in that way. Sorry, structure your input in that way. If I'm giving 3, I'm getting the third record. So after slash, you are having a dynamic out. So what I will do here is, it take, you can get, I believe you can try this out, right? By pausing the video and all. So in place of this, what we have is, we have something different here. It is like this. It is API user /3 /4. So this value is going to be dynamic. So how to replace that one with dynamic? Again, dollar of, what is that? Hash page dot val. Okay. Another point. If you see the output here, there is no array. It's a single data. Complete is stored in data dot id, data dot first name. Okay. So you don't need to go for loop in this case. And you don't have array here. Directly id, directly first name, directly, everything is direct. So when it is a single line, I don't think you need a break or something. It doesn't make sense. So let me execute this and then we'll talk on this. Okay, you're giving 3, you're getting the third record in the next line. If you want, you can add some. When it is a single one, then you don't have to go for append also. You can go with simple HTML. How did we structure this? I believe you're learning this. No? I know it's not that easy to get in a single go. For this purpose only, I have recorded the session. Let me check recording is going on or not. Thank God it's going. Does it make sense, guys? I'm trying my best to make the things simple. We are clear up to get. Let's go to the next level. Let's come to the assignment level now. So when you go to the request response, you will be having all these gets. So here there is no output. So if you come here, this is having some output here. This is quite similar to the above one. So here you are getting everything just by passing unknown. You don't have to provide something dynamic. And if there is delay in response, then that time you can simply give loading image over there. So here this all gets you have to practice from your side. Okay. So whenever you are trying for this one, first point, check this one. Image, you can do everything. Let's consider here you're getting some images, right? Instead of displaying this thing, you can place this one in img tag. So what is the syntax of img? Img src equals to yeah, I'm sorry. Where you want me to move that image? See, playing with data, it's all up to you. Where to display this, if you want it to be displayed at the first, last, size, curls, round in shape, all these things you can play. So you have a control on image now. So you can play how to play. You can see like width equals to 10, height equals to, huh? Where you want to move. So that is all up to you, right? What do we have? Align, right? From one side to another side, there's all things you can play. Okay. That all effects you have to apply from your jQuery, and you can learn about that jQuery effects. That is sliding and all. You can play with that. Once you have control, then you can do in your own way. So this is nothing but designing. We are in the part of development now. Okay, how to design it, how to display it. All these are in your control. But for now, please skip designing and focus on development. If you keep thinking about that image, why that complete body is coming, only head I want, then you will deal with head. Why that bag is coming, let's do something, this, that. Restructuring, you can do it. But currently focus more on development. Developers are highly paid and we are here for the development course basically. Okay. Sliding in this way. So you have not yet googled anything. So you can simply go for some effects. You will find it many things here. So like this you have to apply something over there. Okay? You can try from your side. You have to just go through all these things. Is your question answered? Chalo, let's come back to the development side. Okay, so we are already running short of time. Any other questions you have? So if we are good with the get now, let's go with the post. Yes, you have anything to ask, you can ask me. So post is basically used for creating a new record, and put is used for updating a record. What is the difference between post and put? For example, we have someone in this class like Vamshi is there. So his employee ID is 123 and we want to update it to 1234. So this is nothing but put. We have some new joinees in the class like Sridhar is there. So we are adding a new record, that is nothing but Sridhar details. Then that is nothing but post. Updating means changing the existing one, that is nothing but put. So let's deal with the post now. So whenever you are dealing with post, it is something like creating something new. So whenever you are creating something new, you have to make sure the parameters which you give should be the same. So let me make it simple. I'm just removing everything from here. So without using this Ajax and with using Ajax, both we will see. So method equals to post. I need your attention. And input type equal to text. So name. So till now we have studied about name. So what I said you, the name will be the parameter name. So the name will be this name, whatever the name they have given. One is name and the another one is job. So the name is name. Okay, and close off this. One more. So what is the second name? Job. So second name is job. So here enter name, and here enter job. Input type equal to submit, value equal to submit. Anything you can write, correct? So what is the endpoint URL? Action equals to endpoint URL. This is your endpoint URL. This endpoint URL is going to be appended with this one. This will be your final endpoint URL. So action equals to this. So no Ajax, nothing. So why do we have this extra curls here? No jQuery, no Ajax. Still we are on the plain HTML. Now if you ask me how to give validation and all, then it's a basic thing which we have already discussed, like put required and all. So I'm not going to for that point. So here we have, so let me give some break here. Oh my god, one more break. So two breaks, and John, and the John is having a profile like software engineer, submitting the data. So name is John, and software engineer, what is a new ID got created for him? 272. And this is what you have. So new record has been created with ID 272, but you lost the control. If you want to submit one more, you have to come back here and you have to add over here in this way 267. Why it is not sequential? That is not in our control. That is from the server response. That is not in our control. Okay. So what is the drawback of this one? You are losing your control. Correct. To address this issue, what we are going to do is we are going to, can you pass that water? Thank you. Excuse me. I'm going to replace this with the Ajax call, and the syntax for post is, this is something but callback function. This is a syntax of post. So I'm going to apply that. First, what we have, URL. So what is going to be inside URL? This endpoint is going to be your URL, correct? So copy this and paste it over here. So URL is over. What is the second parameter? Data. Yeah, what I said you, when you're working on post call, you have to take care of data as well. Correct? So what is the data we are giving there? So this is a request data. So when you are making a post call, you have one more parameter here, that is data. So what data should be there will be written here. If you see get, there is nothing, there is no data for it get. But in case of post, you have some data. So this is your data. So let me copy this data here Okay, and callback function is nothing but your function which is going to execute immediately after that. Response, and here just I'm giving, do we have div there? Down the line we have div. Okay, so three parameters in case of post. One is URL, what we call URL as a developer, what we should call, what we call URL as, we should call it as a endpoint. Okay, URL will be called by the normal people. We are developers, we have to think in different way and we have to use proper terminology. Second point, if I am writing morphous here, this is hard coded. This need to be replaced with the dynamic one. How can you do that? You have to add some ID here. Anything you can give here, and this is one more ID I'm giving as job. So you don't have any form now. So when there is no form, it will not be submit. What it will be then? Button. When you use button, it's a good practice to define the ID for the button. So when you want this to be happen on the click of button, so how do you call it? Hash button dot click. Correct? And this is going to be, everything is written inside that button. So when we click on that, this is going to happen. That is nothing but data is going to be submitted, and whatever result is going to come, that is stored in response, and we are storing, displaying here. Okay, still this is not dynamic. Again we are struggling with morphous. So whenever you type something, by default it will send morphous only. So what, how to replace dynamic, how to replace the static with dynamic? Dot, see guys, how you are going to replace that? You are going to replace it with whatever you have entered here, that is going to be replaced over there, right? So you have to access the value from these fields. So this is going to be replaced with what? Single quote plus dollar of, what is that? Hash name dot val. Okay, here you have to take care of opening and closing. So this I have already, so URL you have, and this is by using name. How to access the values in jQuery by name? Input name equals to that type of name. If you don't want this, then you can replace this one with ID. What is the ID we have? Hash name. So one I am going with ID and another one I am going with name. And finally, this is what data. In that data, what I am doing, I am replacing that one with the dynamic one. Those are stored in this variable. There is name and job. Okay. So what is the response coming here? Response dot name dot job dot ID and dot created. So dot name, only dot name first will give, and when it is a single record you can go with HTML. So let me execute this and check there is any problem. So undefined, something which is coming as a response, but that name is existing or not we don't know. So here we have response dot name. So let me reload it again and check why it is not coming. So the name is coming as empty from there and the job is coming as empty from there, but ID is coming as 927. Okay, so dot ID, let me give as dot ID. So the ID is coming as 859. So let me display everything over there. Response dot name, response dot job. Refresh it. So the data is not coming from backend. We don't have to worry. Backend API is not returning data. That is not our problem. Our work is to display it. So if this things happens, what we have to do? We have to report to the backend people. The data is not coming from your server. But here we don't have to report to anyone because it's a fake JSON. It's just for the practice purpose. So what you learn from this, it is something like without losing a control on your page, you are getting new records by communicating to this API. Okay, does it make sense? It's quite complicated. You have to listen this video number of times, then only things will be easy for you. Any questions? Let me come back over here. So post we have learned. Let's go to the put. So in case of put, what we are going to do is with record ID 2, the name and job is going to be sent in this way. So here you have one more parameter. What is that? Record ID. Because the second record ID is holding a name as Morphus and which you have going to update with some other value. So the updated value will be displayed here. What is put for? Updating the existing record. So I want you guys to practice this put, patch, delete from your side. So first complete this get and post. So with that you can practice the rest. Okay. So is it clear up to here? Let's come back to the easy concepts now. jQuery UI. So jQuery comes with user interface as well. What is this user interface? What do you mean by user? Whatever we display on the UI components, all those comes under the user interface, like displaying a text box or displaying a field or whatever it might be. That all comes under the user interface. So jQuery is having a lot of user interfaces. It comes with a lot of features, which have made it a developer's life very simple. For example, let's consider you want to display menu. So in CSS, what you will be doing, you will be adding menu content separately, and you will be using positioning, and you will hide it on hover you will display it. Like this we have done. But in jQuery, it comes with built-in functionality. Just like dealing with CSS. Yes, in the last class we have seen like how to change CSS things using jQuery, like background and all. So in the same way, you can even add the components from the script. So whatever you do with CSS directly, the same thing you can do with script as well. That is what a power of jQuery. So I will be explaining you about this down the line. So before that, we should cover one leftover concept, so called CDN. So what is the CDN? More half an hour I will take. If not half an hour, then 20 minutes I will take. See, actually the recording is going on. We are in between something. We'll make it like 9:40 will be the last. Okay, thank you. Yes, guys, what is CDN? Okay, you want to tell by saying what is CDN for? Yes, content delivery network. So what does it means? What is the use of this CDN? If you want to work on jQuery, what you have done, you have gone to jquery.com and you have downloaded a plugin from here in this way. So there is a direct way to access the plugin. You don't have to download everything. So what you have to do is you have to go for the CDN of jQuery, and which version you want, always go for the latest one and uncompressed one. So you just have to copy this script. Okay, they have given this cross origin, all these things, it's all not needed. You can simply copy this script and come back over here. Instead of hard coding the script like this, you can bring it from client in this way. Okay, instead of downloading it, you're going to call to the server directly and access that plugin. So let me come over here and bring this. So in the earlier case, we have called it by storing in some folder. Now you have called it from cloud, that is jQuery cloud, in this way. So what is the usage of that? Instead of downloading and calling, you will be calling it from the server directly. But when you're working on CDN, what is needed here? You need an internet connection because you're downloading a plugin from server. So you can get CDN for multiple things. CDN for bootstrap.css. So you will be getting, you just click on any one. Okay, you can simply copy this one. You can get the CDN directly in this way if you want CSS, all whatever it might be. So instead of downloading the complete folder, you are allowed to access it directly. So in the same way, we have something so called jQuery UI. So you can go for jQuery UI CDN. So you can get it like this. So if you see here, this is for jQuery core. And if you see here, this is for jQuery UI. So click on uncompressed and download this one. So what is the use of CDN? Instead of downloading a complete plugin and working on that, what we will be doing is we will be calling the server plugin directly. So this is quite useful if you go in this way. So in order to work with jQuery UI, so you need two things here. jQuery UI.css and jQuery UI.js. So this two URLs you will get it from the CDN network. Anyhow, I have added all those details here. I will quickly walk through this all. So you can see here you have jQuery UI CSS and here you have jQuery UI JS. So let me bring it at the top. CDN for jQuery UI.css and CDN for jQuery UI.js. And with that, you also need your jQuery core, whatever you have till now used. So three you need here. So for jQuery core, this is a CDN. Okay. And for jQuery UI.js, we do have, this is a CDN which is given by the jQuery itself. Okay. Yes. Okay, go on. This is for UI.js, right? CDN for UI.js is over. CDN for core.js is over. And what else you need? UI.css. So here you will find UI.css as well. So it is a CSS. You can use link or you can use import. Okay, these three are there. So these three are the important one. And if you don't want all these things, you can, if you want to download it directly, then you can go to the website jqueryui.com and you can download it. Fine. So in this one, I have taken some example which I want you guys to practice. Let's take one now. We'll quickly move out. I think you are getting bored now. The first example is draggable. This allows you to drag your component. So how do you do that? By using dot draggable. So where this dot draggable is defined, it is defined in jQuery UI.js. It is not with your jQuery min.js. So you have to use additional here. And what you want to drag a div. So this ID. So in the same way, I have taken many examples here. You can simply follow these examples. Drag it and drop it. Okay, you can see the source code. You can learn from that source code. Resizable, all these components you have. I will quickly walk through this. This allows you to resize it. Resize your component. So in the same way, you have selectable, you have sortable, you have accordion. What is this accordion? Expand and compressed. Simply see here. You please go through this web, and if you have any questions, you can come. Date picker. HTML comes with default date picker, which is very dirty. So you can get the stylish one from this one. Just add date picker method over there, which is defined where? In UI, jQuery UI. Very beautiful date picker you have. So I request you guys to go through this dialog box, pop-up. This is a standard way of displaying a pop-up. So this is a pop-up. If you want to define something here, you can define it over here. Okay. In this way, you have menu. Let me take menu and wrap the session. Progress bar you have so many things here. This is by using the jQuery. It's not CSS, you are hard coding over there or something. If you see the code, it's you are just writing the div elements and you are calling the dot menu method. I request you all to go through this. These are jQuery UI is having very good components. And the last one is progress bar, slider, tabs. If you want to display some information in tabs, this is also very cool feature which jQuery has given. And display, you can see all these contents are dynamic. So I want you guys to work on this one and submit.